Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie. Thanks for joining me. I always want to say it's Tuesday, it's Saturday, but it's Tuesday. So thank you guys for working with me through making the changes. Hope you are well. We are doing live tarot reading this evening on the channel. How's everybody doing? Post that new moon. Mars is in Taurus. The astrology is it's a lot right now, kids. But I'm excited to be here doing readings for you live. So those of you guys who are new to my channel, thanks for joining me. We alternate weekly. Usually we do this on Saturdays. We do either tarot or astrology. This week we're doing tarot, but guess what? We're going to be back on Saturday the 9th in just a couple days. I got to get back on track, then we're going to be doing astrology. So big thank you to all of our subscribers, anybody who's liking, commenting, and sharing, but also those of you guys who are a part of our memberships. If you are a level 2 or 3, a big shout out and thank you. I just want to say thank you to everybody who is level 2 and 3. So let me pull you guys up real quick. We got Happy Mamacita, Deanna, Angela, Emma, Ezekiel, Susan, Paula, Miss Fogel, Jackie, Anjali, Hera, Nancy, Phoenix, Jessica Martinez, and Susan Wexler. You guys are the best. But because it is the beginning of the month and we give first dibs for readings to our level 3, if any of our level 3 people are here, Deanna, Emma, Paula, Anjali, Nancy, Phoenix, or Jessica, what's up? Let me know if you guys want your reading. That's the benefit of being level 3. You're going to get a reading once a month on the channel live. You can choose if you want tarot or astrology. I see Jessica's here. Hello. Hey, Morgan. What is your name on PayPal? Let me know. I have a Vyani. I hope I'm not botching that name. I have a Vyani and I have a Megan. So I'm going to assume you're one of them. So if you are new to getting readings on the channel, there's a QR code right here next to me. You can scan that QR code. It's going to take you directly to my PayPal. We're doing readings by donation only. Obviously, if you want to give more, you're welcome to. If you want to tip, you're welcome to. $40 for 3 cards. Ask whatever you want, or $20 for 1 card. So give me a heads up and let me know if you want a reading. Okay, cool. We'll do the reading for Jessica. I'm going to assume Morgan, you're Megan, and then I believe I have Vyani here as well. So Jessica, I'll do your reading. No worries. I'm happy to do that. How's everybody doing? Funky energy going on right now, so it's definitely a good time for reading. Oh, cool. Got it. Perfect. I got you, Megan. Today, I'm going to be working with a new deck. No, I'm not sponsored, but whenever I have new decks, I let you guys know. Super cool. My friend Justin gifted me this over the weekend. It's called the After Tarot, One Moment After. So all of the scenes are a moment after what you would see in the traditional Rider-Waite deck. Really cool idea. I don't know how I didn't see this. I've been playing with the deck since I got it the last day or two, and it's super fun, so I'm going to be reading with that today. If you like this deck, you can go ahead and check out my Amazon link down below. I've actually linked it so you can find it if you're interested in picking up that deck. Because sometimes, you know, I'll read with something new and everybody goes, where did you get that? And this is like really cool. So people are asking about the question. So when you make your donation for the payment, do me a favor, in the memo box, put your question. But yes, you can ask a specific question if you did not already. So you can put that as a part of the memo, and I will pull that up. And we do readings usually for about an hour, so we'll let you know when we call last call. Usually sometime around 8 o'clock we'll call last call, just to ensure that everybody gets in if you would like a reading. Yeah, I'm excited for this new deck. This one's a sassy one. I pulled some really great cards when I first opened the deck, and it's very, very talkative. So Jessica has a question. She wants a love reading. So let's do the love reading. And then Morgan, if you want to get more specific, you can. Yep, you can do it on there. No worries. And those of you guys who are watching, do me a favor. Even if you're just hanging out and you're watching readings, give me a thumbs up. And sharing is caring. So if you want to share the stream with somebody else, if you know somebody else who would want a reading, let them know. Let them know I'm here. We're live. All right, so let's go ahead and do this love reading for Jessica. You guys will see, especially if you're familiar with what the Rider-Waite deck looks like, how cool of a concept this is to see like the next thing come about. Well, I mean, one thing that I would say that's quite interesting, let me move these over a little bit so we can get this all the way in this shot. There we go. Sorry guys, moving things around on you a little bit. Is, you know, this seems to kind of insinuate you're like waiting for something. You're focusing on something. You're waiting on bringing something in. The High Priestess being the first card that comes up, that tells me that you're really putting a focus and an emphasis on your vision. And there is this sense of like, am I reading things correctly? If you're getting a feeling, if you're getting a vision, if you're having dreams, if you're having an intuitive hit that something or someone is coming in, but you're not sure if you can trust it. Usually when the High Priestess is coming up reversed, it's like putting a real emphasis on whether or not you believe that something could come to fruition. And there can be like doubt creeping in. There can be a sense of like, okay, am I overthinking this? Like, am I crazy? Am I seeing this correctly? Sometimes when the High Priestess comes up reversed, there can be like a sense of you not sabotaging, but like not allowing things to be in flow, right? Because this is traditionally a card that's about allowing the conscious and the unconscious to kind of come together. When the High Priestess comes up reversed, it might suggest that you're sending signals or vibes that you're not sure, you're not ready, you don't know what you want. I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, I love the High Priestess and I love the Magician. They're very polar opposite than the Emperor and the Empress. That's more about settling down and commitment and traditional. This is kind of like not being aware that you may be giving off player vibes. And it's not because you're trying to play games. It's just because part of you really likes the idea of being able to have your freedom or have your peace or have your privacy. And then there's the other side of you that's like, yes, I want to connect, but you may not be aware of that. Sometimes this deals with like unconscious things that are kind of going on in your life as well. So I could see like the High Priestess reverse being like, I'm saying I want it, but am I actually doing the work to remain open? Then we've got the next card coming up is the Six of Swords, and that's coming up reversed. So this can talk about you feeling like you're in limbo where you don't quite feel like you're ready, right? Sometimes this card comes up when you're in between. Sometimes this card comes up when you're like, I'm considering moving. Sometimes this card comes up when you know that you're in transition. So maybe you're transitioning out of a period of feeling like you have to be super focused on yourself. Maybe you've been creating excuses as for why you can't move into a relationship. Maybe it's like, I'm not ready yet. I haven't hit this point in my career yet, or I know that there's going to be a big life change, or I know that I'm going to be relocating. So why would I want to get into a relationship? There's some sense of you realizing timing is off, right? And so here's what's kind of cool about this. If you remember traditionally, you know, the Six of Swords, you see all of them in the boat and they're going across the boat, right? And they're in transition. In this picture, they're getting off the boat and they're landing. So they're just landing with where they were planning on going. So it tells me that plans are becoming more solidified in terms of a move, or plans are becoming more solidified in terms of you not telling yourself, oh, I'm not yet, or I'm not ready yet, or I can't get there yet. You're starting to get a little bit more solid ground. And then the next card that you have is the Page of Pentacles. So this is basically saying that there isn't just an opportunity to connect with somebody new. There is a sense of things actually shifting with you in terms of what you're willing to give. So whether it's time, whether it's resources, whether it's attention. Now, pages in general, they can have a tendency to be immature energy, and not in a sense of behavior, but this is fresh new energy. So pages are just getting to know how to do something. Perhaps maybe you're learning that you don't have to give all of your time away, or give all of your resources away, or give all of your heart away if you're going to be getting into a relationship, right? You're learning how to just give little bits of yourself. So maybe it's like not losing yourself in the ability to date. Maybe there's a sense of you being like, I've only got Wednesdays free, you know, so that's what I've got. If you want to get together, we can get together then. And just learning that it's okay for you to prioritize your time, or if you're really focusing on grinding and working right now, if you're really focusing on maintaining healthy habits in relationships, if you have found that in the past there's been a sense of you losing yourself in everything that you give to another person, this is going to be, you know, a learning opportunity for you to start building in relationships and giving little by little. This can also be saying you have a very small amount of time or resources or energy to share with people. So if you feel like you're only willing to give a little bit, that's fine. All you got to do is remain open. I'm questioning and wondering if a lot of this is also because this can be about time and resources, and this can only be, this can be about moving. If there's a sense of you going like, why am I going to invest any time or energy into getting to know somebody if I'm going to be in another place? So I don't know if that's happening. That can be a mental block, right? So it can also be saying it's not just so much about people who are around you right now. It can also be about like places that you're going. So you might be connecting with people in other places going like, they live in this other state, or they live in this other time zone. Like, how is that going to be a thing? Like, why am I going to put time or energy into that? So there's some sense of something like that that's shifting for you. And I would say don't get so mentally caught up in the distance or where you're going or where they are. Just open yourself up a little bit and be more so willing to give a little bit more time to nurturing something, because pages can be about nurturing something, especially if it's anyone who's got real prominent earth placements. So this could be like a Taurus or a Capricorn, or it could be a Virgo. It's kind of funny in this, usually you see the page holding the coin, right? And in this you see like a little like elf or like a little troll who kind of comes out and he's offering him something. So it's kind of saying there could be an exchange. It might be that you're putting more time and energy into not just nurturing relationships, but nurturing relationships that have the ability to grow, or relationships that might somehow be connected to work or trade or business as well. Look for increments of 6 is what I would say. So 6 days, 6 weeks. I also feel like this is saying that over the better part of the next 6 weeks, there can be some radical shifts in the way that you're thinking about relationships and where relationships could go, or where you may be going in general. Hopefully that's helpful. Thank you guys for your questions. What's up, everybody? Hi, V, I see you. I've got you in here. I just didn't check to see your question yet. Hey, Anjali, what's up? Oh, yep, I got you, V. So I'm just gonna take the level 3 people really quick, and then I will get to your question. Hopefully that's helpful, Jessica. Stay open. I'm wondering if that's like a younger earth sign that you're gonna be talking to. Just food for thought. Could be you talking about your daughter too. Just somebody being in another place. All right, cool. Thank you, Katya. All right, Anjali, let's see what the cards say for you. I would like to put in a question. I met someone new, a Cancer sun. He seems nice. Was wondering if there's long-term potential. Let's take a look. You're welcome, Jessica. All right, so this is for Anjali, the new Cancer. Is there long-term potential? There's that Page of Pentacles again. This is a card I keep pulling, the 7 of Coins. Really interesting that that's coming up. So, you know, 7 of Pentacles is kind of like a wait and see card. This can be a card that talks about being cautious where you're investing your time. Obviously, with this card, traditionally, we see like somebody planting the seeds for the garden, right? And they're putting the garden together and kind of getting everything in order. This card for you is telling me that you're willing to give it a shot. You're willing to invest a little bit of time in seeing what could come. Traditionally, this can be a card of like hard work. It can also be a card of delays. So it is saying that this isn't going to be something that's just going to happen quickly overnight. But this can be something that can be valuable if you stick with it and you give it a little bit of time. 7 of Coins, when it's upright, makes me feel like it is worth getting to know that person. You may also find that you guys have a lot in common in terms of your work ethic, your financial goals, you know, just how you're wanting to kind of build your life. When this is coming up in a new relationship sense, it kind of makes me feel like it's worth giving it a shot and seeing what could come of it. This might also talk a lot about you guys talking about the lives that you're wanting to build. So it's an opportunity to be able to share. I think dating in general is just giving everybody the opportunity to kind of figure out what it is they want through like trial and error, right? So with this, it is saying that it is going to require a little bit of work, whether that's making time to see each other, making time to get to know each other. There's something there that's like, you're gonna have to work at this a little bit. Then the Page of Pentacles coming up in the middle position, that's really insinuating that This is something new. There can be an exchange. It can be something that takes time to build. It can also be suggesting that there is a sense of fairness. There's like a fairness and a balance here. Like somebody's going to actually take the initiative to be like, hey, yeah, I want to make time to see you. Or, hey, I brought something for you. Whenever you're dealing with pentacles, it's very earthly. So it's very physical. So there is like a sense of, physically making time to see each other, exchanging gifts, things like that. Page of Pentacles is a good signature for a potential relationship spread, because it is kind of saying that somebody else is willing to put in the time and the effort. It can also be talking about him having like a lot of balancing earth aspects in his chart. So he may have some Capricorn or some Taurus in his chart, or some Virgo. There can also be a sense of him saying, I'm also looking to really get to know somebody and take my time getting to know someone. Pentacles can be slow. So that's the other thing that I would tell you, is that Pentacles takes time to build. And a page is basically saying it's in the very beginning process. There can also be this sense of it being really, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like it can be very innocent, right? So like I'm not seeing the devil, I'm not seeing the lovers, I'm not seeing a bunch of cards that are insinuating it's just purely like a physical connection or just like a fling. So when the page comes up, it's saying that you guys are actually building something and you're working towards something. Yes, he understands I must study and adhere to a schedule. He said he was willing to help him work. Yeah, so there you go. Yep, he has Mars and Capricorn so far. Okay, so that's good if it's exalted. Cancer Sun, then Mars, Capricorn so far. So he's got Mars in opposition to his Sun. So he's willing to use, I think, his emotions to fuel, building of relationships, right? Sun opposed Mars, and Mars is exalted. So he's got Mars 7 houses from his Sun. So he likes partners who are hardworking, or he likes partners that really put like an emphasis on building a future, security, like somebody who's going to have like a lot of like Saturn or like 10th house placements, basically. So cool. And then the final card that we get is the Fool, and the Fool is coming up reversed. So this is interesting. So traditionally, you see the Fool and he's kind of like hanging, like just on the precipice of kind of jumping off the cliff, suggesting that he's willing to take a chance or do something different. This is also the card that deals with Uranus, okay? And when this card comes up, it makes me feel like you're doing something different in this relationship. It is reminding you, though, with it coming up reverse, like not to repeat the same patterns that you have in the past. So if you've moved too quickly, if there's been a sense of you jumping into commitment, if there's been a sense of you like going 0 to 60 in the relationship, it's reminding you like don't repeat those same patterns. This can also be saying that this can be a person who comes into your life and kind of upends things, like really makes you change your perspective and shift things. What is your rising sign again? I have my moon on his south node conjunct about 6 degrees. That's just past life familiarity, family familiarity. There can be a sense of like that person feeling like family, or there being some emotional connection from a past life. There can be this feeling of like you nurturing and being like more maternal as well. Thank you, Jessica Martinez. That was really sweet of you. I appreciate your generosity. It's not terrible. A lot of it's going to depend on his ascendant. Gemini rising 0 degrees. Okay. So, so Uranus is moving through your 12th house. Does he have any interest in like metaphysics, spirituality, anything that deals with like 12th house stuff? Do you talk to him about any of this stuff? As Uranus goes through your 12th house, there can be like lots of like precognitive dreams and other things that are going on. And just know that that is a house that either deals with conclusions or things that happen behind the scenes or things that are happening subconsciously. So what's going to start happening for a Gemini rising over the next month is Mars and, other placements are going to start coming into conjunction and aspect with Uranus. So it's going to be a lot of things that are going on. Oh yeah, he's Catholic. Okay. So this is going to be about, I could see this as being like the other side of a situation, or the other side, or a different perspective. So maybe where he has like this perspective of like religion and things, you're like, yeah, I have that too, but I see the other side of things. So the Fool reverse is just saying don't rush into anything, take your time. This can be insinuating a process of like 7 months, or maybe, Pentacles are usually months. It's not going to be something that's going to happen in the span of several weeks. I also wonder with the Page of Pentacles and the 7 of Coins if you've had a conversation about what it is that you're looking for, what you're hoping to build, like the life that you're hoping to build and achieve. So did you say, hey, I'm focusing on really working hard and saving money because I want to invest, or I want to do this, or I'd like to get married, or I want to have a family. This is talking about your goals, right? And what you're hoping to kind of harvest. So with this coming in with the Page of Pentacles, one thing I'll tell you is that anytime I have seen the Page of Pentacles in conjunction with the Seven of Pentacles, it can be talking about unexpected pregnancies. And like not something that you were planning for, and something that can happen. That being factored in with the Fool, I would say, like, if this relationship does progress into a physical relationship, I would just have a conversation about what your belief and your philosophy is in having children. In the off chance that you were to get pregnant, what your plan would be, and the life that you're hoping to kind of build. If you're hoping to upend things and kind of go, I'm shifting away from wanting to focus purely on just work. I want to have a relationship. I want to, be building other parts of my life, of your life. Tell him that. Yeah, that's really important. I'm feeling like I live in a 12th house. You also told me that. The solar return, you're in your 12th house, annual perfection year. Yeah, but Taurus in the 12th house as an annual perfection is actually quite nice, because it is talking about like rebuilding your values, and it gives you lots of opportunity for romance behind the scenes, and like lots of like, intimacy and like stuff like that behind the scenes. So it's pretty nice. I would just say take your time with this one. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And this can be saying like, just have that conversation about, what if. I'm not saying it will, just what if. And the Fool reverse is saying, look for a lot of these things to come full circle by the new year. Like there's nothing making me think he's going anywhere. What I like about this card, and even though it's reversed, if we look at it, well, I see it, you see it reversed too. Okay. It's upwards from my perspective. You see that he's like holding on, like he still has faith. He's still smelling the flowers. Like there is still a sense of him being able to feel like he can like pull himself back up. So it's saying, even though this person comes in and they kind of shake things up for you, there is still a sense of you kind of having like a firm footing in the situation. Okay. Very exciting. Let me know what happens. Yeah, but something about 7 months, which is interesting. It is talking about Aquarius season, the beginning of the year, that's when really things could really change. Hopefully that's helpful. All right, so we got the level 3 people. Now I'm gonna move on to those of you guys who have made your donation. So thanks for your patience. I have Vyani, Megan, Della, Stephanie, Katya, and Elizabeth. So I got you guys, don't worry. If you guys make a donation, just let me know. That way I can get you. All right, V. 3 cards for Vyani. I'm a Cap rising, Taurus sun, Aries moon. So you've got a whole sign sun in your 5th, and Aries moon in your natal 4th. He's an Aries rising, Gemini sun, Taurus moon. I've been dating Kay for a few months, and we both have player-ish tendencies, but I'm working to see if he could have something serious and committed with me. I'm ready to settle down. I think I've met my match. Harsh reality, truth of the situation, please. V, I have questions. First of all, just knowing your astrology, really pay attention for the next month, because you're going to have Venus, Mercury, the sun all move through your 7th house of relationships and oppose Pluto. Pluto in your 1st house is going to be how you're changing and transforming, how you're wielding your power, how you feel about changing your life, changing your body, changing the relationship to yourself. So as planets move through your 7th, it's about relating. As it opposes Pluto, it's going to be about power struggles. You want to watch, because some people could see you as intimidating. Some people could see you as too secretive, too private, too intense. I'm not saying you are, but they could see that. They could act that way. But with planets in your 7th and sextiles to planets in your 5th house right now, it's funny that you talk about settling down, but if I'm seeing so many Capricorn risings who are like, I want to meet somebody, boom, they meet somebody and then they get married. I want to, buy a house, boom, they buy a house. I want to have a kid. Like all the transits through your 5th house is about falling in love, commitment, can be about pregnancy. One thing I'll tell you is, just because you have Jupiter that's going in and out of your 4th house, it's trying to set you up, especially in the new year, to be moving into a new home and doing all of the Uranus, Jupiter things that you want to do in your 5th house next year. So when you say that you're looking to settle down, there's some truth to that. I also like the fact that even though he's a Gemini, his moon's in Taurus, which is really grounding. And if his moon is the same as your sun and your moon is the same as his ascendant, that's a lot of really good astrology for the two of you, you know? So we have Knight of Cups, Seven of Swords, Ace of Cups. This makes me laugh. Seven of Swords, let's just start there because that's really where my eyes are going. Seven of Swords is a card that deals a lot with honesty, whether or not somebody's being faithful, whether or not somebody is telling you the truth or just what you want to hear, if you're missing something, if there's anything that isn't kosher, right? So what I love about this deck is the Seven of Swords. He's about to step on a rope, which could then grab him by the foot and pull him up. He could get stuck. It's like a trap, right? So this is saying that in the off chance there is a situation going on where somebody is not being honest with you, or somebody is being player-ish, or somebody is running games and whatever, you're going to find out. If. That's a big if. I feel like the two cards that are on each side of this are basically trumping what this card means. Everything's upright. So if we start at the beginning, the Knight of Cups is somebody who comes in and they wear their heart on their sleeve. They're very romantic. They're very open. Knights are initiatory. So it's the act of being in a relationship, the act of dating, the act of falling in love, the act of trying to wake you up on a heart level. Usually the Knight is you know, honorable. I mean, it's not the Knight of Wands. So the Knight of Cups comes in, there are emotions and there are feelings there and acting on them. So I would pay attention to how he's acting, right? Not necessarily what he's saying per se. I feel like with the Seven of Swords being here is kind of insinuating, because it's a 7, both parties have been hurt. Both parties have been in situations where they haven't been honest with others or other people haven't been honest with them. The swords are dealing with like mental stuff. So it's everything you don't say. So there can be a sense of you going, how can I trust him? Is there something he's not telling me? Who else is he talking to? Is he telling me the truth? Is he being honest? I don't get the impression, because of the other two cards that are here, that there's something going on. I get the impression this is more about one or both parties being really cautious with their heart and not wanting to say or do anything that's going to kind of pin them down and put them in a situation where they're vulnerable or they're feeling like they're exposed. And I feel like it's good, because in a way it's kind of like, no, you can't do that. I see through that. Or no, you know, that's not going to work in this dynamic. I've dealt with this before. Like, there's a lot of working through your guys' previous relationship hangups and drama through your interaction. I would advise you against setting him up. That's the one thing that I would say. And when I say setting him up, not trying to catch him in something, not trying to look for something, right? This card kind of reminds me of something my dad always said to me. He's always told me, like, you got to give somebody enough rope to hang themselves. And he didn't mean literally. He meant in a sense like, you can't chase people around and make sure that they're being honest or they're being faithful or that they're doing what they're saying they're going to do. You have to just kind of trust people. And then if they end up, you know, hanging themselves and getting themselves into a situation, they'll do it to themselves. It's not something that you need to kind of patrol. I think that's really fitting in this situation. And I think that he may feel a little sensitive and he might feel a little defensive because perhaps maybe in the past he got away with stuff and in this situation he's not going to. And it might be a little bit of like as attract like a lot of the things that he's doing, you've been there, done that, and vice versa. So you're going to see through it, right? Then you have the Ace of Cups, which is one of the more positive cards in a relationship reading. This deals with the opportunity for love, the opportunity for new relationship. I love that it's about an offering in this deck. So it's not just that the ace shows up and it says, hey, there's an opportunity for a relationship, but for offering your heart to someone, which is really funneling into the Knight of Cups. Part of breaking this down and not getting somebody who feels like they have to be secretive or defensive
is by being disarming and being transparent and vulnerable. Perhaps maybe he comes from a background in his previous relationships where he had to be secretive, he wasn't honest about stuff, he had to be defensive because it wasn't a healthy relationship dynamic. So if you're seeing that these things are playing out now in your relationship, it's a matter of being like, hey, where does this come from? You know, is there a reason why you feel like you have to be like this with me? Did you have issues with this in your previous relationships? And it's just about transparency and not feeling like you have to strong arm the situation, letting him know that, you know, you are aware of some of the things that have been going on, but approaching that situation with love and compassion. I also feel like with any Gemini placement, they're not going to want to feel caged in, right? Especially if he's an Aries rising and, you know, he's got that sun in the 3rd house. He needs to feel like he's got lots of communication. The sun rules his 5th, so he might feel like he needs to be able to talk to people. He might be a little flirtier than most people. He might be a little more communicative than most people. But I'm more interested in like where his Venus is. Now a Taurus moon with his moon behind his sun coming into the new moon phase means he can be kind of private. He might need isolation. He might need time alone. Just knowing with some of the transits that are going on in his life right now, also with Uranus getting close to his moon and the eclipses that are happening in his moon or near his moon. In a man's chart, the moon represents his wife ultimately, right? So like the kind of women that he brings in, but it literally is about his wife. So if he's having eclipses near his moon and transits near his moon, it's literally going to be about his wife or his significant partner that's possibly coming into his life. Oh, he's got Venus in Gemini. I've noticed it's things he doesn't say that speak more loudly, so I plan to set him up by bringing up those things, bring up transparency. That's good. Venus and Mercury in Aries. If you have Venus and Mercury in Aries and he's got Venus in Gemini, not a bad match. There's a sextile there, and you have Venus close to his ascendant. I mean, it's good for the most part, just what you're telling me generally. It's pretty good synastry. But I feel like what you're doing, saying to him like, okay, let's talk about this, so it's like not a thing, so that way you're bringing it up before he like falls back into old patterns, is exactly how you want to handle it. And a guy who has his sun and his Venus in the same sign, especially if it's within 10 degrees, it's just going to be an over fixation on romance, relationships, women. In the 3rd house, it's communication. So what you're going to notice is that he's really communicative, he's really chatty, that's how he connects and shares relationships. He's got Venus in a double sign, he's got Venus in the 3rd house. So there can be a sense of liking having multiple people in rotation. He may not be dating more than one person, but he might be talking to more than one person. You know what I'm saying? I would say personally, the cards are really positive. I think it's about communicating and also just expressing that you want his actions to line up with his feelings, and that you don't want to just be going through the motions where, you know, you're just with somebody who's just passing time, that you actually have feelings, and that you're cautious because you don't want to get too overly invested and you don't want to be in a situation where somebody's not being forthcoming with you. Something else I'll tell you is later this year, I was just setting everything up, looking at the astrology for the 2nd half of this year earlier today. You know, there's going to be a Mars retrograde in Gemini. So he's going to have his chart ruler Mars going retrograde over his Venus, which is definitely going to be a bit of back and forth. That's going to be kind of happening later in the year. For somebody like you, having that happen, that's going to be taking place. So you're a Gemini. What did you say? No, you're a Taurus rising. Excuse me, a Cap rising. So that's going to be happening for you in your natal, I'm trying to think, 6th. So there's going to be a bit of back and forth in regards to like timing and scheduling, and the 6th house can be about whether or not you wrap something up. So there can be a sense of you reevaluating a relationship, quite literally, like, you know, during this period in the fall. But for right now, it looks pretty positive. I would say keep going with the transparency. Sometimes when the Ace of Cups comes up, that can be about somebody being afraid, 7 of Swords, Ace of Cups, to drop the L word, to drop the L bomb. You might find that the more he gets emotionally invested and he starts kind of getting close to you, he can kind of clam up, or there can be a sense of him like being fearful or afraid of opening up. But just keep being gentle with him and trying to ease him along, and give this about 7 weeks to kind of develop. And I have a feeling there's going to be a conversation that's going to be had just about how he's afraid to really show his vulnerability and communicate his vulnerability, you know? But you guys' synastry sounds pretty good, to be honest with you. And these cards aren't terrible. It's just about people guarding their heart. But like, if you're not willing to get hurt, you don't really get to play the game. So maybe there's a sense of also reminding him like that you're all in and that you need somebody who's going to be all in. Otherwise, you're going to start having insecurities and doubt as to whether or not you guys have a solid connection. Okay? Hopefully that's helpful for you. Gemini Sun, Gemini Venus, that will never get boring. You will have a relationship with two people, so it will always be entertaining. Those of you guys who are just tuning in, if you want to get a reading, you can get in the queue, scan the QR code right here. We're doing live readings by donation. It takes you directly to my PayPal, $20 for one card, $40 for 3, or you can join my memberships and you get a reading once a month. So let's see, we've got Megan. Here we go. Let me pull up your question here because I think you got specific. Question, I lost my dog during the Scorpio eclipse season. He was a Scorpio, 16 and a half years. I know it's kind of a silly question, but obviously devastated, wondering. I am so sorry to hear that. Is he trying to find me again in this life again as badly as I am trying to get back to him? I'm so sorry to hear that. That is heartbreaking. I have some advice for you. Look up offerings to St. Francis. I know this sounds really weird, but look up offerings to St. Francis. He's the patron saint of animals, and you can also look up, or you can pray to St. Francis. And then another option is you can ask for assistance from St. Anthony. He's the patron saint of lost things. But I've seen a lot of success with people who use St. Francis when they're experiencing a loss of an animal. So let's see, is it possible that your dog is looking for you? That's so heartbreaking. I'm so sorry to hear that. And that was around the eclipse. And it was a south node eclipse in Scorpio. So it was literally, in your case, about losing a Scorpio. Do you have Scorpio in the 6th house? What's your ascendant? Here's what's interesting. There may be somebody who has the dog and is trying to find a way to get the dog back. So your question was, is the dog, trying to align with me as well? I mean, Knight of Wands is an indication that this is, I think, you looking, right? So this is you looking for the dog. Knight of Wands is like getting in the car, driving around, talking to people, anything that you can do, just like fast and furiously looking. Cap rising. Okay. So your 6th house is going to be Gemini. So it was also about the Mercury retrograde. There is a Sun-Mercury Cazimi that is coming up that makes me wonder if there could be a reunion with the dog. Or that there's information about where the dog is. I would say, I'm just looking at the transits here. Give me just a second. Right around July 16th. So pay attention to right around that date when your 6th house Lord Mercury comes into a Cazimi with the sun and you find that somebody may have found the dog or that somebody had the dog. It's possible. But Knight of Wands is you looking. Justice card talks about the balance, and it talks about partnership, and it talks about other people. So something about this makes me feel like there can be people who may help in the reunion or the connection. This may also be like a couple that found the dog and got the dog into a shelter, or picked up the dog and are helping take care of the dog or trying to foster the dog. There's no like death cards coming up. There's no cards coming up that's saying that the dog isn't alive or isn't going to be found. These are all air and fire elements. So this is a really good indication that the dog is still with us. The Justice card makes me feel like it requires the assistance of someone else. It can also be like animal control, or somebody who actually, you know, is a legal person who is responsible for taking care of animals. The Justice card can also be talking about somebody who helps reunite you, or somebody who helps you find the dog. So do you have someone else help you? Let's see. I'm just reading your messages. When you say lost, do you mean he went missing? Oh, is he trying to find you in this lifetime? So then this is about a reunion. Oh, he passed away. Okay, so then this is about a reunion. Yeah. What's interesting is I don't know if like somebody knows how difficult the loss has been for you and has offered to get you an animal, or give you an animal, or connect you with an animal, or somebody who says, can you take an animal? Watch for somebody who's going to say something like that, who might say, you know, I can't take care of this dog. Can you take this dog? That might be another way that he comes in. Got it. Thank you. And then the Page of Wands could also be that there is a sense of a younger animal coming in. Look for like a reddish color. Notice all the warmths, like a red, an orange, like an amber color, a copper color, something that comes in very quickly. And it can be something that happens during the month of Libra. So we're looking at the end of September going into October. There can be a sense of somebody coming in. The other question that I have about these two is that, do you know, like, where did the dog come from? Like, do you know anybody who's somehow connected to that dog in general? Because sometimes the Knight of Wands and the Page of Wands can have some like connection. Like if you got a dog from a specific breeder, would there be another dog that would come from a similar breeder type of situation? Or if you got a dog that was adopted from a specific place, would you consider going back to that place? Because these two have a connection. He was red. Yeah, the colors are really significant. You'll recognize like the coat or the color, basically, because the colors are so strong in these cards that it's saying you'll see a really similar color that will remind you of him possibly coming back. But this is about life. You know, these two cards are talking about life. So it's interesting because I read these cards as being like, I'm still alive and well, everything's fine. So there can be a sense of that energy coming back in. And the Page of Wands makes me feel like it would be a much younger animal. So if you do decide to get another animal, if you do decide to adopt, it's going to be something that's much, much, much younger. In terms of timing, like I said, end of September, maybe October. It could also be that you end up going into a situation where there's like a relationship and you and a partner are basically talking about getting a pet, and then you bring a pet in and you're like, there's some similarities here. But reincarnation, returning, coming back. Libra does talk about the cycles of life and what is karmic. But I definitely think that there can be like a little bit of time either for the right situation for that person or that little soul to return. And you'll know and you'll recognize it by the color. It's going to be by the color. But definitely, I mean, Justice card also talks about that union that's bound, you know, like feeling bound to each other, or like the relationship that you had. Like people talk about the relationships with pets all the time. I don't think that's crazy at all. I had a 16 and a half year old, unfortunately, that I had to put down last April. And that was like my soulmate. So I totally get it. I do think that there's an opportunity to reunite. I have a feeling that it'll be a younger animal. I have a feeling also that it could be a much bigger animal than the dog was. Because, you know, the horse coming up in the Knight of Wands, it's like that could come in the form of a horse. I don't think it's literal, though. I think it's saying it could just be a much bigger dog that could be like a little sportier than what you had before. And that it is likely to be a male dog, because these are all male energies, the Wands, and also the Justice card is a masculine energy. And it might be a dog that has some combination of air and fire. So I noticed that you were saying you guys had the same node. At least I thought you said that, right? Libra South Node and Libra Moon. Yeah, Aries North Node. As you're having Jupiter go in and out of Aries, there can be a possibility of reincarnation, or at least I've always thought that when you see Jupiter expanding and touching the node, that there can be a sense of like the future, you know, opening up and making it possible to kind of like return. And I have seen that a lot in like clients' charts where like they lose a family member and they had the same node and Jupiter goes over the node and then it retrogrades and it comes back, and then like somebody who lost their grandfather like has a baby and then and it ends up being a boy and they name it the grandfather's name, right? It's a way of like that energy coming back. But if I was looking for a reunion card, I would be looking for the Justice card. I'd be looking for maybe the Six of Cups. Maybe I'd be looking for the Ten of Cups. The Justice came up. So look for that. But it looks like the reunion may come with the assistance or the help of another person. So there's going to be another person that's going to be involved. Someone saying, can you take the dog? Or possibly you and your partner deciding to get a dog and the dog might come back. So it's a really good sign. I'm sorry to hear about your loss. That's a tough one. Especially during eclipses. It's a tough one. Hey, Asha. Hey, girl, hey. All right, so let's see who we've got next here. Did I lose my PayPal? There we go. So next in line, we're going to call last call in about 10 minutes if you guys want to get in. I've got, let's see. I've got Della, Stephanie, Katya, Elizabeth, and Brandon. Sending you lots of love with that doggy situation. I'm sure he's hanging out with mine. All right, Della. Della says, Aries Sun, Gemini Moon, Cap Rising. Ooh, another similarity. We've been trying to start a family for a few years now. No health issues. Any messages or good news on the way? Thank you. Yeah, the good news is that you're having eclipses. That's happening in your 5th house if you're a Capricorn rising. So all of you guys who are Cap risings, eclipses in Taurus is your 5th house to your ascendant, which is about pregnancy, especially because Taurus is a fertile sign. It's also going to be about falling in love or creativity or self-employment. If you already have kids, you don't want any more, they could be having kids, or it could be about them getting involved in sports. But specifically, I have a lot to say. If you're a Cap rising, Aries Sun, you got eclipses going on in your 5th house, and you've got Jupiter in the same sign as your sun. When I see people get pregnant, or when I see people maintain pregnancies or have children, usually I will see something like Jupiter conjunct the ascendant, Jupiter conjunct the sun, progressed planets in the 5th, eclipses in the 5th. So you've already got that kind of going for you. Mars, your chart ruler, will go back and forth over your moon in Gemini, which means I wouldn't worry too much right now about pregnancy stuff. And I wouldn't do anything too crazy yet, like intervention-wise. Wait until Mars goes retrograde, okay? But the fact that you're going to have eclipses in your 5th and Jupiter in the same sign as your sun is a really good omen. Now, we just had a new moon solar eclipse in your 5th house, which means it's going to take about 6 months to see that fully unfold. And what we're going to see happen for you and shift is you're going to see around the full moon in Taurus, which will be in November, the completion of that cycle. So there can be finding out that there's pregnancy or lots of news revolving around pregnancy sometime in that end of October, beginning of November period, okay? You'd have to look at solar returns and other things as well. So one thing I like to look at for pregnancy readings is I like to look at the progressed moon to see the progressed moon, where it is. And I'll do a lot of chart overlays. So we've got 5 of Swords, 5 of Wands, 5 of Cups, 5, 5, 5. It's a bit of like an understatement, like how long this is going to be, or how long this has been going on and how challenging this has been, okay? 5s represents challenge, obstacles, having to overcome things, delays, frustration. And whenever I pull multiple 5s, it's basically saying there's some kind of something going on energetically that's blocked. Now, specifically, 5 of Swords coming up, excuse me, this is a 7. 5 of Swords coming up is saying not wanting to feel stressed about it, not wanting to be anxious about it, not wanting to go back and forth and have conflict. 7 of Wands is talking about trying to overcome something. It's talking about feeling like you want to rise above the situation, that you want to come out on top. It can also be talking about challenges getting to that point. So it can be talking about maintaining. So I wonder if this is also about maintaining a pregnancy, or seeing that both parties, in terms of like their reproductive organs, are able to like have the capability of going all the way. So without getting too graphic, it's like, you know, have you seen that there's been issues with ovulation? Has there been issues with maintaining pregnancy? Are you dealing with fertility issues on both sides, where you're seeing like delays and low energy levels, or like actual low levels that are coming up in terms of fertility? Then you have the Five of Cups, which represents like loss, you know, letting go, being disappointed, things of that nature. Yeah, not being able to maintain. Where do you have any planets in your 5th house, and where is your Venus? That's what I wonder. Where is your Venus? I would say stress and conflict isn't going to help. Anybody would tell you that. If you're trying to get pregnant, being stressed out isn't going to help. But like, there seems to be a sense of feeling really mentally stressed out, and like feeling as if it's becoming taxing, having to communicate and be talking about this. And I don't know if this is just you telling other people, you know, oh, you know, we're trying with this or that. And like, then it's this constant repetitive thing that's on your mind that it's not sticking. The Seven of Wands makes me feel like it should not be something that feels like labor, or something that you're having to force, or something that you're having to kind of make happen. That might be stressing you out as well, especially if you're like tracking ovulation, having to doing it certain times, things like that. Venus and Gemini. Okay. So I would wait, because Venus rules your 5th house. You're going to see that Mars is going to go back and forth, which is the ruler of your 4th, over your natal Venus. So that September through the New Year time, as Mars retrogrades over it, you're going to be able to kind of see, okay, what do I got going on? The reason why I asked about your Venus is because Venus is literally going to deal with fertility, because it's the ruler of your 5th. And I think as Mars goes retrograde over it, you may find that there can be some assistance or some kind of help. There may also be a sense of you needing to reorganize and restructure and start thinking about if you need to move, if there's enough space in your home, if you need some assistance from your family, or if there needs to be just like a shift that's going on within the home before you actually have a child. The transits are very good for pregnancy in general, but right now this seems a little chaotic. You know, that Seven of Wands makes me feel like there can be arguments and conflict and getting frustrated and feeling like you're trying to get your point across to people, or possibly even talking to like your doctor. And then the Five of Cups is being depressed or disappointed or sad, or feeling like loss or grief, and feeling like you're having like a difficult time coping, right? So if you are dealing with having issues maintaining pregnancies, one thing I would say with the Five of Cups coming up is you have Two of Cups right behind you, that is sitting right behind you. So it talks about going deeper into the relationship, seeking, you know, support from a partner, having a partner really understand that it's been really difficult and taxing for you as well, being able to communicate that you're really disappointed, or that this is like really weighing heavily on your heart, and really going deeper into that partnership, so that way you're not feeling like it's just trying to focus on getting pregnant and then, you know, arguing or fighting or feeling like there's some kind of tension. Two of Cups being up is also a really good indication that there is still room for fertility, and there is still room for you know, new opportunities in terms of children and babies. Just knowing some of your transits though, I feel like some of what's going on with Uranus and Jupiter moving into your 5th house next year, Jupiter is the ruler of your 12th house. It can be talking about like a miracle baby that suddenly, you know, you're pregnant and everything sticks and you're good, especially like in this next year. It can also be talking about the possibility of like really tuning into the spirit of the unborn child and doing like magic or meditation or manifestation or whatever, revolving around connecting with that energy before it comes in. I think of things like fertility knots and fertility spells and other prayers and other things that you're going to be doing, because Jupiter is your 12th house lord, revolving around that. So there, it does benefit you to start doing that work in this next year before that comes in. In some situations, because Uranus is unusual, as Uranus moves into your 5th, I have seen some people who do IVF. I have seen some people who have Uranus and the 12th house Lord come together in their 5th and they adopt. I don't really think that that's the case. I actually think more of what's going on right now is doing a little bit of like damage control, both in terms of the effect that it's had on you physically, emotionally, and mentally, and really feeling like you're not fighting something, like you're not fighting the negativity of the situation, you're not fighting the fact that it hasn't stuck, and really focusing on healing. Sometimes when the Five of Cups comes up with a client who's been dealing with not maintaining a pregnancy, I always ask them, have you really taken time in between the pregnancy to really process that? Is there something that you can do revolving around womb clearing or womb blessing or anything in regards to like getting your either hormones or your emotions back on track naturally, so your reproductive part of your body or your root chakra is more receptive to maintaining a pregnancy? That's something that I'm wondering, because to me this seems like it's really emotional, you know? The card on the bottom of the deck, just as a clarifier, is the 8 of Cups. So it is also saying for you personally that the bigger concern is like being in this situation again, and like the fear of being like, okay, I thought I was pregnant, but now I'm not. If that is a fear and a worry that you're having right now, that you don't want to go back to that you don't want to keep repeating the cycle, really identify what needs to be healed and worked through emotionally first. And then I do think that there is a possibility that you can bring something up. But knowing what I know about your transits, I would give this until about September. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, but when Mars goes retrograde over your Venus, that's a time to then switch things up and be like, do I see a fertility doctor? Do I get a second opinion? Do I talk to somebody else about this? Also, your chart ruler going retrograde in the 3rd makes me feel like it's also a good time to possibly look at going on a short distance trip, going on a vacation. Mars going retrograde can be like, okay, we go out of town for the weekend, we have a 3-day weekend. And as Mars is retrograding in conjunction to your Venus, Mars and Venus love each other, your Mars, your partner is Venus, you can reconnect, and there can be a pregnancy while that's in a trine to Saturn in your 11th house. So that can be a wonderful time, just like getting away, and then you go away for a weekend and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. And it's because we took the weekend off to go and hang out with our friends and have a good time, because a lot of this seems like it's stress induced with feeling like you have to either get pregnant or maintain a pregnancy. Okay? Hopefully that's helpful for you. But yeah, I don't see any health issues either. It seems to be more so the energy revolving around trying to make it stick, if that makes sense. Sending you lots of good baby vibes with that process. Scorpion Goddess says, so I got a reading on March 12th. You said if someone has left your life, someone is coming in April, May, June. No one has showed up. And that's my update and didn't make the cut. You're welcome, Della. Keep me updated, Scorpion Goddess. I'm glad to hear nobody from the past came back. Hey, Deanna. How's it going? I will get you in since you're a level 3. So I'll take Deanna, and then Stephanie and Katya, you're on deck. Deanna says, I'm feeling super stagnant in the romantic department. Just met, hoping for a little romance in Ireland. I'll be there July 30th through the July 20th through the 26th. Help! It's so exciting though. You may feel like that until the sun comes out of an opposition with Saturn, right? Because you're a Leo rising from what I remember. So until the sun comes out of an opposition with Saturn, which will be in August, you may feel like that a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm glad you're going though. Ireland will be fun. We got 3 of Cups, 7 of Swords again, 7 of Coins again. I gotta tell you guys, these cards keep coming up for me. This makes me feel like be mindful that there can be some stuff coming up with people that you're going to be connecting with. 3 of Cups and 7 of Swords. I don't know if this is something that's been hanging around, where you've been dealing with a situation where somebody was around and then they were keeping their options open and you were like, or the direction that you're going in with people that you're going to be meeting and interacting with, it's saying be careful and watch out, because you don't want to waste your time. Now, maybe you're already there, right? Maybe you're already like, I don't want to be messing around with people who don't know what they want. I don't want to be investing my time or energy in someone who's entertaining other people or keeping their options open. When I see the Three of Cups and the Seven of Swords come up together, I always let a client know, like, there could be third parties involvement here. There could be people who are in open relationships. There could be people who are seeking other people. Just be mindful of that. I don't think this is you. I really get the impression that with what's happening right now, there's a sense of you wanting partnership, but you're kind of not wanting to play the game, or you're not wanting to deal with people who want to kind of keep things open and loose. Seven of Coins coming up makes me feel like for you personally, you're like, I don't want to feel like I'm wasting my time. I don't want to feel like I'm putting all of my eggs in one basket, you know? And the Seven of Coins coming up as the final card makes me feel like you're not going to be, I'll give you credit, you're cutting people off sooner than maybe you have in the past. Or maybe you would entertain somebody for several months or maybe even several years and then be like, you know what? I overlooked all of the signs. Now if somebody tells you straight up, like, I'm having a good time, I want to have a good time, or if you're getting the impression that somebody's not being honest with you or that they're playing games, you're not going to waste too much time on them. This is a message, though, that likely you're going to encounter somebody who's possibly either going through a separation, going through a breakup, going through a divorce, or somebody who's just getting out of something, and they may not be completely honest with you about it. Now, I think part of this is just knowing your astrology, that you have, you know, the sun in your first house that's going to be coming up here soon, and it's going to make an opposition to Saturn in your seventh, where it's going to be about you going like, I don't think you're totally ready yet. You haven't been, you know, separated for more than a couple weeks, or maybe you're going through a divorce. You're not ready yet. This can also be a situation where I think you're less likely to entertain people who don't know what they want. So there could be a sense of you being like, yeah, it looks like you're just looking for a good time. I have my eyes on the prize. I'm over here. I also know that if you are a Leo rising, this upcoming full moon in Capricorn, pay attention, because the sun is going to be in the 12th house. The full moon is going to be in your 6th house. It's 12th to your 7th. You may find out something about somebody who you were getting to know, and you might find out that they come back around, they have something to say. You might find out they've moved on to another person, and you're like, what the heck? Just watch for that, especially if you have any real prominent placements in your 6th. You have Venus in Capricorn. If Uranus is trining your Venus right now, that definitely shakes things up a bit as well, especially because Uranus is the ruler of your 7th. So if Uranus is still within 5, 6, 7 degree orb of your natal Venus, it's still moving and shaking. But watch for this, because this makes me feel like somebody may come in that's going to possibly try to get you off track. And I want you to stay full steam ahead. That Seven of Coins is like, I'm working, I'm making money, I'm making plans, I know my value, I'm not going to get distracted, because whoever tries to come in the immediate next like 6, 7 weeks will distract you and is likely to, you know, be running around and doing things, especially if you're meeting people while you're traveling. I could see this as like a sense of somebody being like, yeah, I'm available, but they know that you're in town for a certain period of time and they're really not available. So ask all the questions, like suss that out. You can avoid this. That's the interesting thing, because the Seven of Coins coming up as the final card can be you being like, that's going to throw me off track. I'm not doing that. And you can actually bypass it and choose not to engage. So if you are meeting people, ask questions. This is like a temporary thing. I think this is a test just to see if you're going to get distracted and if you're going to get pulled off course. Once again, with the Seven of Swords, I like the fact that in this deck, it does insinuate that if somebody isn't being honest with you, they're going to get caught, right? If somebody's playing games, they're going to get caught. And they're gonna show the signs of why they're not trustworthy, and you're going to be able to be like, I'm out. Both of these are sevens, though. So it does talk about the balance with other people, right? And then Three of Cups would be somebody you'd meet at a bar, you'd meet outside, you'd meet at a festival, you'd meet around other people at a get-together or something like that. And somebody who might be real smooth talking as well with that Seven of Swords. So be careful with all those Irish men. They like those American ladies. They do. They hear you across the bar. They'll walk up and start talking to you. You've been warned. Oh, man. All right, so we've got Stephanie. Stephanie says, just a general reading. My birthday was last Thursday, So just wanted to know what comes through. We got you, Stephanie. Let's give you a general reading. 1, 2, 3. Here's what's really interesting. This card was, these several cards were up. 8 of Cups, 5 of Swords. So that seems to be a message that's like, we're letting those things go. We're cutting off all the dead stuff, all the heavy weight, the dead weight. All right, Stephanie, this is for you. The Emperor, the 5 of Coins, and the 9 of Wands reversed. It looks like you're blasting through blockages, you know? I mean, I like that the Emperor comes in strong. It does talk about Aries energy. It does talk about Mars energy. It can be talking about some of the Mars shifts, so I don't know anything about your astrology, but Mars just entered into Taurus, where it's technically a little slower. It can feel a little sluggish. It can be a little bit more blocked. But the Emperor coming up can be talking about like taking a hold of a situation, can be talking about your career, can be talking about your power, your goals, where you're going with your life. Now, the Emperor also represents bosses, father figures, strong, independent men, and the sign of Aries. So if we think about Mars just changing signs, Jupiter is currently in Aries right now. Look at where Taurus and Aries are in your chart. Mars is in Cancer. So you're experiencing Jupiter square your Mars. So 5 of Coins coming up next to the Emperor is feeling like you're fighting through situations where you're not being given enough, where you're being left out in the cold. 5 of Coins is like needing something to eat, needing support, needing more resources. So when the Emperor shows up in front of this, it's basically saying like, I'm working on these issues. It can be self-worth, it can be housing issues, it can be financial issues. It can also be suggesting that you're taking the initiative and starting to focus on being more protective of your energy, more adamant about your boundaries. There can also be a sense of you feeling like you're just pushing through anything where you're not feeling good enough or you're not feeling included. Then we have the 9 of Wands coming up reversed. And, you know, traditionally you just see this guy, you don't see this guy. And the 9 of Wands is like, oh, you know, I'm the last man standing. I've had to fight through this situation for a long time. It's been really difficult. I've had to kind of carry everything on my own. I don't know if I'm going to make it. And then here is another person who kind of joins the mix, and somebody comes in who says, I see you. I acknowledge you. I see that you've been struggling. Do you need some help? Right? So there is a sense of like not being the only one. Like you're not going to be the only one struggling with some of these situations anymore. Somebody's going to come in and they're going to provide some assistance. 9 of Wands coming up reversed is also saying, kind of similar to 10 of Wands, it's like it's not necessarily your burden to carry. There may be things going on with the family where they're like, we need you to do this, we need you to pay for this, we need you to take care of that. And you're learning to say no. Not my problem, not my job, not interested, no thank you, not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Self-worth issues, definitely putting up boundaries with family. Yeah, and I would say, I don't know if it has to do specifically with standing up for yourself, that's what the Emperor could be, or standing up to a parent figure, standing up to men maybe. But I think you're realizing that when you're constantly running around like doing things for other people or putting other people first, it's leaving you out in the cold. You running around feeling like you're responsible for having to do things or having to say yes or take care of things for family is making you like feel like you're holding the bag emotionally. And there's all output, no input. So I think that there's some shifts that are going on here where you're realizing like, you know, I can't always be the one taking care of them. I have to work really hard in order to provide for myself. So why am I making so many sacrifices for other people? Because at the end of the day, it's not like you're doing things because you expect something to do something in return. But this is saying there is no input, like there is no give back. In fact, it's just making things more challenging for you, and it's making you frustrated and kind of realizing, you know, there needs to be more initiative for them to be appreciative of what you are doing. So that way, you know, you at least feel like you're getting something in return, some appreciation. Putting up boundaries with family, they only reach out when they want money. Yeah, you're not doing that anymore. You know, 5 of Coins is like, we need this, we need that, we need this, we need that. And you're like, I need help too, but I'm not getting anything. So I think this is really kind of saying that for the better part of like the immediate next year, a lot of what's shifting for you is realizing that In some situations, you know, they may be in situations that they put themselves in, and you are realizing that you're not really benefiting them or yourself by assisting them and helping them all the time. That, yeah, it's difficult, you don't want to see them struggle, but helping them when it becomes a vicious cycle of them just taking, and also you feeling like you're having to work harder and you're becoming upset, angry, resentful maybe, with this Nine of Wands coming up, is making you realize like you're not going to do it. And look for somebody else. There's somebody else who's going to say this to you. There's going to be like a friend that's going to be like, you know, you can't help people who don't want to help themselves. It's going to be a partner who's going to say, I don't like the way they're treating you. Like, you're going to get this. This message is going to be reinforced in some way. Somebody else is going to say this to you. Or somebody's going to say to you, well, how does that make you feel? You know, like, who's there for you? Somebody's going to reaffirm this message. And I would say with that Emperor coming up, he's upright. So maybe you're still kind of struggling. Obviously, you know, Mars being in the sign of Cancer, there can be this sense of like being super emotionally caretaking and nurturing and wanting to take care of people and showing up and feeding them and doing all these things. But with Jupiter in the square right now, Jupiter in Aries is literally about our personal beliefs and philosophies. That's what it's about, right? Jupiter is about ideas, philosophy. Aries is about the self. So are your personal beliefs in alignment with your actions with other people, right? Are you just as nurturing and giving with yourself as you are with other people? If you're not, then, you know, you need to be filling your own cup, you know? Yeah, the resentment stuff comes up, but I do feel like this is more about you realizing I don't want to carry that resentment, and that there is a difference between being assertive and having boundaries and being mean, right? And you're not. So there is a need to really channel that inner Emperor and be like, you know what, just because I can doesn't mean I should. That might be something that would be good for you to kind of think about a little bit. And look for the people who are going to be popping in asking you, what about you? Because it's there to remind you that you need assistance as well, and it can't just be you constantly giving to other people. Meditating with the Emperor, that card can be helpful, or maybe putting it somewhere that you're going to see it regularly, just to kind of remind you that it can be about asserting yourself. It doesn't mean that you're being aggressive. And trust me, as Jupiter squaring your Mars, you're going to feel that. There's a need for you to channel more of that inner Mars energy rather than the Cancer energy. Happy belated birthday. I hope the year ahead is good for you. We have got Katya. And she says, I keep seeing angel numbers like crazy. 555, 777, 333, 222. What's about to surface here? Ooh, I like these. So let's take a look for you. What's up with all these angel numbers? Is there something that's going to surface? You're welcome, Toddman. The Fool reversed. The Eight of Cups reversed. The Eight of Swords. You know, obviously each individual angel number is going to have their own thing. I have always felt that when you're starting to see the multiples, like things are syncing up. And like, obviously if you're looking them up, you're going to look them up one by one by one, right? So each one's going to have their own. So you want to look at that. The Fool reverse is saying everything's being turned on its side. It can be about a new reality. It can be about a new frequency. It can be about a new way of doing things, and that you're willing to take risks, or that you're willing to kind of trust the universe, or that you're paying attention to these synchronicities. It is a reminder to pay attention and to be conscious of your behavior, of your thoughts, of your actions, right? So, you know, the Fool, when it comes up, it can be saying taking new steps forward, taking risks. But when it's reversed, it's saying like, be mindful of your thoughts. And perhaps maybe that's part of the reason why you'll see these repeating numbers, is because we need to be mindful of our thoughts. We need to be mindful of what we're sending out into the universe, because the universe responds to that, okay? That also tells me that it's trying to upend old patterns, or it's trying to upend ways that you have been. So if you've had a hard time breaking patterns, breaking habits, breaking thoughts, things like that, it's trying to remind you that they're there to help you. You are a Sag Sun, Cap Moon, Scorpio Rising. Amount mentioned. Okay.
Oh no, this is never mind, that's a different person. Okay, there you are. My mind is running like crazy. Gemini rising. Okay, wrong person. I got you, Elizabeth. One thing that I would say is that, you know, these are some gnarly cards coming up. The Eight of Cups reversed is like, do I go back there? Do I not go back there? Right? It's like looking in the rearview mirror, asking yourself if you're going to return to something. So what's been going on here? Have you been dealing with like letting someone or something go? Have you been thinking a lot about the past? Has your mind been stuck on the past? Because that Eight of Cups is like, you have to understand, that's about walking away and being like, is there a future there? And the numbers are like going crazy, being like, no, keep moving forward. Don't go back there. Don't think about that. Stay focused, like maintain your vibration. That seems to be what this is about. You have 2 eights coming up. So you have the Eight of Cups, which is about emotional transition and transformation. You have the Eight of Swords, which is about mental strife and feeling stuck and not knowing how to get yourself out of a situation. I love this card so much in this deck because you guys have heard me say the Eight of Swords. It's like, it's just a mental thing. You think you're stuck, but you're not. And the Eight of Swords in this card, because it's the next scene, is literally the knight coming in and cutting her free and releasing her, making her realize that she's not stuck there, that it's just a figment of her imagination. It's just mentally she's going through that mental repeat and feeling like she can't, move on. Okay, so letting someone go. So here's one thing I would say. Although releasing and letting somebody go does seem like it's really difficult or challenging, or that maybe you feel like it was cut short, or maybe it's something that may alter the future of your life because you really thought they were going to be in your life for some time. The Fool reverse feels chaotic. The Eight of Cups reverse is saying if you go back, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work, or keeping somebody in your life, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work. I think it's more grappling with the fact that you cut somebody off and you don't feel like they fought for it, or they didn't fight to stay around, or they didn't want to start to try to fight for the relationship. And then you have the Eight of Swords coming up, which is like finally breaking free of like feeling mentally stuck. If you have been questioning whether or not the universe has your back, if you've been questioning whether or not, your guides or whoever or whatever it is that you believe in is supporting you, it's really trying to nudge you forward and remind you it's time to keep moving, keep things moving. Because some of these cards can be talking about if you get stuck or if you return, you're going to repeat old patterns. So it's trying to remind you, yes, it's difficult right now, keep moving forward. The 555 I've always seen come up during like really difficult times in my life and also clients' lives, and it's just a period of having to go through the motions of going through kind of the steepest part of whatever the situation you're in. The 777 to me has always been about that connection with a higher being and like letting you know that there is support that's coming through, especially in regards to relationships. The 3s is about communication and how you're thinking and anything in relation to manifesting specifically and staying active and mobile. And the 2s has been about feeling supported and stuff relating to finances, at least for me, But I feel like this is learning how to do things differently, and it's reminding you to move on from the past and really disengage and cut people off and not repeat old patterns, not fall back into the, what if I go back, or what if this happened, or are they going to return? It's trying to kind of keep you looking forward rather than falling back into the past. You know what I'm saying? So is something going to surface? Yeah, finally really cutting people off mentally, right? Not physically, mentally, being like, okay, it's done. I can't think about it. I can't obsess about it. I can't think about reaching out to them. I can't send the letters. I can't do this. It's like really cutting it off. It's been a lot trying to push forward and stay focused on me. Well, you have support. That's the good news. You have a lot of support. If those numbers are coming through, it's trying to get your attention so you're not so mentally fixated on this. And it's trying to help get you out of that, Hopefully that's helpful. Stay positive, and I would say focus on moving forward because that's where they want you to go. And know that if you're seeing those repetitive numbers, like if you're one of those people that's seeing it like every day, or you're noticing the same sequence every day or intermittently throughout the day, your frequency is changing, your vibration is changing. And if you want to stay with that, if you want to keep raising that, especially if you have that Gemini rising, bells, chimes, and also I would say look into binaural beats, like listening to binaural beats on headphones can be really helpful to maintain those frequencies, right? Sending you lots of love and good vibes, moving forward, leaving the past behind.
Okay, so I've got Elizabeth, Brandon, Asha, and Talcha. That's who I have in order. We already called last call. So if you guys missed it, no worries. We'll be back on Saturday. We're going to be doing astrology readings. All right, so let's look at Elizabeth. Sag Sun, Cap Moon, Scorpio Rising. I thought it was you, Liz. What's up? I became a VP at work and got your new salary plus compensation. And what is it that you want to know? Oh, will you become the vice president? Okay, at work. And get the base salary that you want and the compensation. So let's take a look. So knowing that you're Sag Sun, Scorpio Rising, Saturn is technically hanging out in your 4th whole sign, and Jupiter's in your 5th, trining your Sun. It's in the 2nd. So that's actually really good for increasing your resources this year. So let's take a look. Is she going to get that? I'm just mentally thinking Scorpio Rising. Is there any possibility that you're going to have to relocate for this job? In August, you're going to see planets go through your 10th house because you're Scorpio Rising, and it's all going to be about work. And there's going to be a full moon that's going to be happening in Aquarius that's going to oppose the sun in the 10th house, which could mean that you could get a position. It would be good, but you'd have to change something about where you're living or the possibility of considering relocating for work. So just keep that in the back of your mind. So let's see what the cards say. So will she get this VP position? You'll oversee a global market. Okay. A lot of travel. Yeah. 7 of Wands. Page of Cups. 2 of Cups reversed. I will say that to me, there seems to be either another person who's in line. Like, I don't know if it's coming down between you and one other person, but there's like another person. 2 of Cups, you know, being reversed, this is the final card, can insinuate talking about whether or not there is a sense of being chosen or whether or not there's a sense of partnering or being indecisive, going back and forth with, you know, 2 options. 2 of Wands is the card that I get on the bottom, so that'll confirm that. I'm wondering if the VP position is going to be about you literally like having to be the second hand or the right hand man to another person. So somehow there's another person coming in. So I don't know if they're going to have you share this position with another person, which I know sounds weird, or if they're going to say, hey, we're just going back and forth between you and one other person. Listen for that. 7 of Wands is a positive card though. This is a card of victory. So this does usually come up where, 8 of Wands, it's about things moving quickly, traveling, being victorious, but feeling like all the energies are in alignment. The Page of Cups is also saying you're really positive and you're kind of like, I've got this in the bag. I've made, I've made partnerships and relationships with people. They know me. I'm very personable. They know that I'm a go-getter. Like your mentality is in the right place. Yeah, it's just the 2 of us at VP level. I'll oversee global things and manage domestic. Yeah, okay. So if there's another person involved, then the likelihood is yes. If this is just you guys working side by side, because you say VP, I look at this and go, you're both really doing the same thing. It's just a title. Look for things to be shifting literally within about 8 weeks or the 8th month, which would be August. So it could be the end of August because it's the beginning of July right now. Page of Cups makes me feel like you've been groomed for this, or that they have been focusing on having you work with the president or having you work with another person before giving you the position to make sure that you guys get on well and that you guys have a good relationship. The issue that I have with the 2 of Cups reverse is it's saying it's almost like you're doing the job of the president, but you're not getting the complete title. Like there's something that's kind of missing here. There's nothing coming up about money. Everything that's coming up is basically talking about traveling with another person, having to be the right-hand man of another person, having to assist another person, and there being something that is shared. I will say that I get the impression that you're brought on and you're like, okay, I'm getting the things that I want. You know, I feel great about it, but you may get into it and then realize like I'm doing a lot of somebody else's work, basically. Yes. I'm doing the C-suite level work. Yeah. And, you know, eventually, I mean, for now it looks good, but eventually you might look around and be like, okay, well, why am I not getting X, Y, and Z? Down the road, and you will see this because Jupiter will also go in and out of your in and out of your 5th house. There's room for more gains, like through a partnership right now, believe it or not. So it's worth taking the position, even knowing that you're going to do a lot of the work, or even knowing that you're not going to get the bigger title, because what you will see in the new year as Jupiter fully goes into your 5th, like bonuses, bringing in more resources, like you're going to climb the corporate ladder more, being supportive of this person. You're going to get a lot further because of who you're working with. This is really the case for a lot of Scorpio risings in general. You have to understand that Jupiter's in your 6th house, so you're having to travel, you have to serve another person. The eclipses are in your 7th, which means you're partnering with somebody and you're helping somebody else make money. There in turn, you're making more money. So even though there can be this sense of being like, but I want to do it myself, your time will come. There's more room for you to be leveling up next spring and like doing your own thing once you have really focused on growing this partnership. It's very important that whoever you're working with, you guys get on well. Not because you're going to be working together, not because you're going to be traveling together, but like there is a need for you guys to also be focusing on nurturing relationships with clients or like other people. So they need to know that, you know, that you're going to be able to do that. There's like a lot of partnership oriented stuff coming up here. Yeah. The 8th month or 8th weeks and this stuff is going to shift. I'm on board with it. I clicked in the spring. Yep. Yeah, I mean, honestly, and you'll see this is also leading you with some of your Jupiter transits next year when Jupiter goes into Taurus in your 7th. It's going to be like you're working with really wealthy people. You're going to be meeting very wealthy people because Jupiter, Uranus in your 7th might be that through business you end up meeting a really wealthy person who ends up being a partner. Or if you have a romantic partner now, you end up kind of bringing them in on things, or you end up having them meet people. So if you're a single Scorpio rising, it's great because you're going to end up meeting somebody who's kind of really well off. If you're already in a partnership, then those partnerships are going to develop and they're going to grow more. Just watch for the hang-ups because there's hang-ups that are coming, revolving around not being home or not being able to be close to home or having to relocate because of where you're working. And yeah, travel is definitely going to be a thing as Jupiter retrogrades back into your 4th. You might start thinking about possibly living somewhere else. And, you know, asking for a raise, I do feel like is possible, but I would recommend doing that when you're having planets move through your 2nd house just after the new moon. So you're looking at after the new moon that's going to be in Sagittarius, which is not going to be until around the end of November on. I would wait because this is also saying like it's only going to grow and speed up next year. So if you were going to do that, I would wait a little bit longer. But definitely anytime from the end of November on, it's looking a little bit more positive. But yeah, if you're down for this and if you're down to be somebody's right-hand man, great. Get ready because this is going to be like a lot of having to work on partnerships and relationships with people who are all over. But it looks really positive. Miss you too, babe. I'm glad you're well. One of a long time client. Yeah, 10 years or so I've been reading for you. I'm glad to hear you're doing well. So let's see who else we got here. Thank you, Liz. We got Brandon. What's up, Brandon? What would you like to know, my dear? Where are you at? You got that one card pulled. You want a general? What can I do for you? Hi, Dishka. I'm sorry we already had last call for the readings, but we'll be back on Saturday. And we'll put the link out too. So if you want to get in the queue, you can make a donation for your question. So let's see, where is Mr. Brandon at? Otherwise, I'll pull a card for him. Usually he wants to know what the general energies are. God, Asha wants a 3-card spread. Talcha has a question. Okay, so I'll pull a general for Brandon. This is for you, Brandon. Three of Cups, my guy. Exciting times with lots of new people. I could be wrong. I feel like I pulled this card for you recently. Let me know when you see this. But this is kind of an interesting card. I'm just thinking like Venus is in Gemini. You got placements in Gemini. I think you're a Gemini sun. You know, Venus being on your sun can be talking about being around like-minded people, talking to people, talking to women, learning more about women, exchanging ideas with people, reading things that you really love. I feel like this can be about like a get-together or a party. This could also be about meeting people and socializing with people and being in the moment. Like this card really makes me feel like it's about looking around and enjoying the scenery, people who you're meeting, going out to a party, going to a get-together, going to a bar. You know, it's kind of hard not to think that when you see the Three of Cups, because the Three of Cups is about being able to like cheers one another and being super present. With the amount of planets that have been moving through Gemini, it's socializing, communicating, sharing ideas, staying open, exchanging. I'm wondering, like, have you made new friends? Has there been more of an emphasis in being like, you know what, I'm not worried about where I'm going. I want to enjoy where I'm at right now. Also just thinking about all of the energies that are going to be going through Cancer, which is second to where all this Gemini is, and it's helping lay a foundation for a solid home base, or helping lay a foundation for emotional stability, or being able to celebrate with people or family, or being within like the home space, right? I think I remember you're in Aries rising. So with all this energy in your 3rd house and your 4th house, it's how are you feeling when you're talking to people? Is there some romantic vibes going on here? Are there people who are inviting you to go hang out, to go play, to go dance, to go and, you know, go for a walk or do things together? You're being asked to enjoy being in the moment. You're being asked to socialize more. This is also a card that's about celebrations. So there can be like good news coming. You can hear about friends that are throwing get-togethers, parties. There's going to be, you know, possibly birthdays, weddings, things like that, that will allow you to meet new people. This is also about staying open and optimistic about the future of your love life in general, right? Because 2 of Cups is relationships, 3 of Cups is sharing with other people. It's not just about romantic relationships. It can be, but this is just saying like being optimistic about just what life has to offer in relationships in general, and paying attention to where people are coming in and they're giving you some kind of an offer, because it can be something that can lead to new social connections, and also just really feeling super positive and like really enjoying life at the moment. So looks really positive for you. Hopefully that good news does come through. I'm having a feeling with like that Venus going through your sun sign is probably feeling particularly interesting, and having Mars come into conjunction with your moon, I have a feeling like that's going to be about you moving. So I'm wondering if you're socializing with people who are going to be like, I know so-and-so, they've got a place, like move. Or people who are taking you in and treating you like family, even though you're not family, and like you being around people feeling like, oh, I'm developing a family, or I'm finding my tribe. So looks positive for you. Let me know. Hopefully you're well. We've got Asha, who wants a 3-card spread. So let's see what the cards say for her. All right, so she wants to know about her love life. Obviously, 5 of Wands reversed, Queen of Wands, Knight of Swords reversed. This is almost like, I would say, waiting it out. Waiting it out. I mean, basically, you know, the 5 of Wands is positive, because this does seem like you have the opportunity to not feel like you're fighting for something or fighting against something. Five of Wands is usually very combative. You see a lot of people coming at each other, but in this deck, it's interesting. You see everybody like sitting down, like they're resting after what has seemed like a very brutal period of having to like fight each other or fight something off. So this could be a recovery phase. Like you're in a recovery phase right now, being like, I don't want to feel like I'm fighting for something that may not materialize as anything, or maybe I'm fighting a lost cause, or maybe I'm fighting for something that, you know, somebody's not fighting. So it's also about winding down and like letting your energy levels kind of reset and settle. It can be about your nervous system, you know, needing to reset after what's been a period of ups and downs in like a relationship. But the Five of Wands is saying like, I'm not fighting anymore. I'm not fighting the resistance. I'm not going to be fighting that person. I'm not fighting for something that's not working. So it's unusual for you maybe because the Queen of Wands is quite feisty to feel like you're not pushing for something. And this can also be like if you have been pushing somebody for some time, or if you've been pushing for relationships, this can be a situation where you're like, you know what, I'm not looking for anybody right now. And I don't feel that push to feel like I have to make something happen. It's about learning to kind of be still and being in place and not using energy that is possibly being wasted on something that your heart's not in anymore, right? So that's a positive card because it's combative. So when it comes up reverse, it's positive. Then we have the Queen of Wands, which is interesting in the right now position because it's talking about reawakening to your own sense of passion and desire, and really feeling yourself and listening more to your intuition and focusing more on what you are creating, right? So in a position in the center, it's basically saying like you being like, I am realizing that I create my own reality. I can make whatever I want happen. This isn't so much about work, and it's not even so much about your love life. It's more about what do you enjoy? Like, what are your passions? What are your desires? What are you passionate about? Now, this can also be you tuning into your intuition more, because the cat can be talking about reflecting on what your gut is telling you, learning more about your spiritual, your psychic development. This can also be a period where you're just getting really in touch with your own sensuality, right? Like what it is that really turns you on, like sexually and physically, life-wise. You could be getting really jazzed about a hobby. There might be more of an emphasis in like feeling like you need to be active. So you might want to feel like spending more time in the sun. There might be a sense of focusing more on fitness. There can be a sense on just setting intentions for what you're bringing to life. So you really need this downtime right now, and it might only be a period of like a couple more days, right? Because wands move very quickly. So it could be like 5 days-ish, and then you're gonna feel the energy start to kind of shift. And the Queen of Wands is like, okay, I can make magic happen. What am I manifesting? You might find that you're working with candles more, you're working with solar energy more, you're working with Mars. So herbs that are gonna speed up and heat things up. So I think of like dragon's blood and working with cinnamon and working with like spices and stuff that's going to be heated, that's going to start getting energy flowing, because you're moving from a place of feeling a little stagnant maybe the last week or so to being like, that's it, I can't sit around anymore, now I got to get moving. And I don't mean in relationships, and I don't mean work, right? I mean just feeling like you're moving your body. So if you start feeling that way, spend some time in the sun. Do some manifestational work too. I think the Queen of Wands can be wonderful for being like, I'm going to create a vision board for all of the things that I'm really passionate about so I can focus on bringing these things into my life more, right? So the wand is used to actually direct energy. So something else is like you might want to play around with like a wand, getting a wand, having a selenite wand, having a stick or something of wood, something that you use to point and direct your energy with. And that's something you're going to be doing. I love that she has sunflowers too, because to me that has a connection to like Venus or like Oshun, and the connections to like sweetness and yellow and honey and like and love of oneself. It is romantic love. She does have connections to romantic love, but she's all about like luxury and giving to herself. So I would say maybe put some sunflowers out. Focus on, doing a lot of work revolving around solar energies. Be wearing like the gold and the orange and the yellow and the red and things that are really going to be really bringing that energy in.
I know your chart, so I know that Mars is now in your 7th house, and it's going to be moving through your 7th house, and Mars is going to come into an opposition with your Venus and your Pluto. It's going to hit your North Node. So this is the time, right? This is a big period right now. As we start to see your chart ruler go through your 7th house, it's going to be about other people taking action, right? Which leads me to the Knight of Swords reverse, which means you could be dealing with somebody who has some really harsh words, or somebody who is not communicating in an efficient way. Knight of Swords usually is like a quick message, a quick phone call, somebody who says something like really unexpectedly, somebody who's like kind of a little combative. So when it's reversed, it could be somebody who catches you off guard and goes, well, why haven't you called me? Why haven't I heard from you? You know, why is this taking so long? Or what is your problem? Why can't we just talk about it? Watch for this, because there could be somebody who comes in that tries to kind of disrupt and like knock the queen off of her throne. Now, whenever we're dealing with a knight and a queen, there's no match, right? The knights are here to serve the queen. And I'm not worried about you falling off or your peace being disturbed. I'm more concerned about the fact that you may have somebody who's going to lash out here pretty soon, right? Watch for that, especially when Mars hits, let's see, when Mars hits a square with the moon. So July 8th through the 21st. I know that's a wide window, but I'm just looking at the lunar transits. Around the 21st, maybe the 22nd. That 8th through the 22nd is when there can be some combativeness and some conflict. And the Knight of Swords is usually somebody who comes in that is impulsive and they're quick and they're kind of short and they're angry or they are not communicating efficiently. So with that Knight of Swords reversed, it could be somebody who's like, why haven't you called me? Why haven't I heard from you? Or I want to give you a piece of my mind. And I would say be the Queen of Wands. I would just sit there and be like, okay, anything else? Like, do you have anything else you want to tell me? Don't react, because this can be a really feisty kind of interaction, because the queen can very easily feed into the air and fire fuel each other and snap back. Keep your composure, really focus on maintaining your sense of working on flexing your intuition, tuning into your intuition. You may know right before you're going to have an encounter with someone. And it doesn't always mean it has to be the person that you have been kind of cut off from or not talking to. It could be anyone. Specifically, this is usually like an air element. So it can be like a Gemini, it can be an Aquarius, it can be a Libra. It could also mean that you're less tolerant of people who are like, hey, I want to get together now. Are you free? And you might start noticing people who are really pushy, or if you say to somebody, I'm not really looking for what you're looking for, they can get kind of cross with you. So just be mindful of that. I've seen a lot of that, especially when Mars is in the first 5 degrees of Taurus, is usually when I see that kind of intensity that's building. And you're going to be focusing on having boundaries with whether or not you allow people into your energy field. It could be your home, it could be near you, close to you, whatever. So just watch for some combativeness. It does make me feel like you're going to have somebody who's going to be trying to communicate with you quite a bit. And if you're not as open to it, or if you're not vibing with how they're communicating, you know, you'll tell them and they're going to get kind of short with you. So just be mindful of that. Scorpio risings in general are going to have a lot of strife and conflict this whole month with other people, because you've got Mars and Uranus in the 7th. Obviously, you know, some tips would be, don't just let anybody in your home. Be careful of dealing with relationships from the past. There can be conflict with that. Anybody who's adamant that's like, you know, I'll come to you. Where are you? I'll meet you. Can I come over? You know, stuff like that. People will try to invade your space. That's something that you want to watch for. But likely you're going to get the heads up. Like, they'll communicate this with you ahead of time. And I would just say, stay in your space. Don't allow anybody to disrupt your peace. And be really focusing on the life that you're building. So when other people are coming in and they're kind of pushing their agenda, or they're getting frustrated that you're not communicating with them, you're going to be like, that's not how things are going. That's not what I'm trying to create in my life. You're creating disruptions. This is what I'm focusing on. I'm not focused on this. I'm focused on that. And she's really adamant about directing her energy towards what's actually making her happy or making her feel creative. So it's important that you're doing those things. Okay? Hopefully that's helpful. Watch out for short-tempered air signs, or people who can be kind of nasty with you. Don't let them disrupt your peace. And last but not least, we have Talcha.
And she says, is my spouse cheating on me? Why are they so distant and cold? We got divorced almost a year ago, maybe a little less, and he threw me to the curb the morning out of nowhere with a protective order and divorce 3 months after they tried to work it out with me. However, I'm in the same situation where she was getting mad at me and called 911 to get arrested. I had a protective order to get me out. I had a realization that she was sleeping with the guard. I can't explain it. It's just annoying. Okay, I remember you. You're having a hard time getting the truth. So let's take a look. Your birthday is May 12th, 1998. So Mars is going through your sign. So there's going to be a lot of you dealing with frustration right now. How you're dealing with frustration and showing frustration. So be mindful. You're going to be a little bit more temperamental now more than usual. So why were they being so distant and cold? Have they been cheating? Ooh, that comes up too. One thing I'll tell you with, the Emperor is something that I was looking for. I pulled a clarification card. Queen of Swords reversed and the Emperor, quite literally, the Emperor can be somebody who's a guard, or it can be somebody who's protecting things. It can be somebody who wears a uniform, somebody who's in a powerful position of control, right? Or overseeing something. So the Emperor comes up. It talks about Mars. It's literally giving you the same warning that I'm letting you know. Now, knowing that Mars and Uranus are close to your sun, you have to really watch for like fits of rage, getting angry, reacting. It's going to be strong all month long. This is crossed with the Queen of Swords reversed. This is about like a Libra or an air sign. She's right on the cusp. Not being honest or not being forthcoming when it comes to a man in uniform. So that's literally a confirmation. It can also be talking about the fact that there's a lot of challenges going on for you and frustrations going on for you that are involving anger, rage, resentment, feeling like you're not in control, feeling like you have no control over the situation, feeling like you have no control over her, that you can't control what she's doing or how she's communicating. It's a difficult time for any Taurus placements, because you're having eclipses in your sign and the North Node is going through your sign, unless you're a Scorpio rising. In that case, it's kind of the opposite. But having the North Node going through Taurus is like focusing on you, your energy, what you need, how you feel. As Uranus and Mars go through your sign, there's going to be the sense of you being like, I feel like I want the truth, or I feel like I want to get even, or I feel like I want to get mad and throw things. Like there's going to be a whole range of emotions that are going to come. And I think the Emperor is coming up right now saying to you, there seems to be issues with what you feel like you do or do not have control over. I can't explain it, just annoying the guard. I actually started crying. I really need some help. So if you need confirmation that there was definitely something going on with another man, in my opinion, that's confirmation. Oh, okay. So you are a Scorpio rising. And is your sun in the 6th house or is your sun in the 7th house? So being a Scorpio rising, North Node, and Uranus going through your 7th, it's not unusual as Uranus goes through your 7th house to have a partner that's acting erratic, right? Kind of crazy, especially with the North Node is there. Some Scorpio risings suddenly get married. Some Scorpio risings suddenly have problems with their spouse. Sometimes they're, you or them unintentionally sometimes meet another person. So that's the other way that this can play out. A lot of it depends on your chart. But if you have your sun in the 7th, you're going to have a partner that is really strong, like their ego is strong, and they're going to be really adamant about what they want and what they're doing in control. Remember, the sun rules the 10th house. So they're going to want to have control over the home. They're going to want to have control over the relationship. They're going to be kind of dominant, and Uranus is hovering around your sun. Just food for thought. Depending on the degree of your sun, if Uranus has not hit your sun yet, it's trying to shake relationships out for you right now that were not, quote unquote, meant to be, right? Because when Uranus comes into conjunction with your sun and Jupiter shows up in this next year, likely there's another person that's going to, show up for you. Now, the other thing that I would say is if you're asking questions about her and this other person and whether there's a kid involved, Queens can talk about fertility. Usually the Queen of Swords is somebody who either doesn't want children and is having a child and wasn't really interested in it and is detached from the idea of that. And the Emperor can also be talking about fatherhood. So is there a possibility of there being a child? Yeah, I mean, new life is Aries. That is Mars. That is the Emperor. And somebody who's possibly stepping up because they feel like they have to, because there's some kind of like responsibility and they have to do that. Let me pull something up here really quick. You said September 20th, 76. So this person has Neptune and Jupiter that's been in opposition to their sun. So literally meeting another spouse that's somehow connected to jail or prison, Pisces. So that kind of lines up. And there's going to be a Mercury retrograde that's going to be happening for them somewhere around their sun and Mercury, which is going to be about whether or not they're really capable of staying in a relationship, if a relationship's going to work, if it's working for them. That's not going to happen until the fall. And they've been going through Pluto square their Venus. So there's a lot of stuff here that makes me feel like the road now into the next 2 or 3 years with Saturn and Neptune coming into opposition with their sun, that they may continue to be deceptive in relationships, that they may continue to not be honest in relationships. They may be in a situation where they got into a relationship and then they realize it's not working. And, it's really hard to say without knowing all of their placements. But I will tell you, looking at this, there is a separation from a woman in their chart this year because they have the moon in opposition to Saturn and Uranus is squaring. There is supposed to be a sudden change in relationships, but it did start with not being honest and being unfaithful. So it's all kind of there. And in this chart, because for Virgo, Neptune rules the 7th, they do have a slight square between their sun and Neptune. So it just seemed to kind of insinuate that one relationship ends and another begins, and there is some cloudiness and sense of kind of being unfaithful. So I would say that communicating with her seems to be something that it's challenging. Like maybe you felt like at one point you could get through to her and now you feel like you can't. That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting. And it's difficult because she's setting it up in a way so you can't communicate with her. And there is an inability to feel like, you can kind of tell her, what it is that you think and what you have to say. Because to me, it seems like you're just looking for the truth, right? It's just just tell me the truth. But she's setting it up in a way so you guys can't even communicate. And she's trying to set it up that way because she doesn't really know how to talk to you about the situation that she's in. And if it's a woman with Saturn in opposition to her moon, Saturn's the ruler of a Virgo 5th house, if there is a pregnancy, it wasn't intended and it's not necessarily planned, and this doesn't really seem like a harmonious, yay, I'm pregnant type thing. It's oh, I'm pregnant, now I have to figure out how to deal with this. And the timing of everything, and also the challenges revolving around the pregnancy, because Saturn is 6 houses from her sun. So it does kind of align, that the pregnancy materializes as the ending of one relationship and the beginning of another, right? But I would say to you that from my perspective looking at this, you're dealing with somebody who you're married to that's getting a restraining order and all these things because they don't know how to fess up and tell you that they weren't being faithful and that they were screwing around. So they're running away from having that conversation and owning up to it. Obviously, it's difficult, right? Being a Scorpio rising, and if you have a 7th house sun, that's a very committed chart. If you're a Scorpio rising Taurus sun, it's that's ride or die. That's somebody who will stay with you through and through, even in spite of some crappy things that your partners can do. But the sun Uranus transit is about shaking out a relationship that's not working, that's not going to facilitate emotional growth and stability, especially within the home, because it's going to bring you someone else. And I know that you might not be ready for that yet, but just know that as Jupiter and Uranus go deeper into your 7th house and conjunct your sun, likely you're going to meet somebody who you never thought you were going to meet, or something totally radically different happens. Now, Uranus rules the 4th house, so you could see down the road in the next year she comes back and says, oh, this, and this happened. Will you take me back? But I would say that more so than not, Uranus is meant to be a new person who enters into your life, right? I've seen a ton of Scorpio rising charts with Taurus placements that were in committed relationships. They lived with somebody, they were married, they were engaged, whatever. The whole thing blows up. There's this really dramatic situation that happens with Uranus in your 7th that leads to a separation and a divorce. And then as soon as you detach from that, somebody else comes in.
So one thing that I would say to you, because Mars is coming into your 7th house, it is trying to remind you that you want partners who are worth fighting for. You want partners that are going to fight for you, that are going to be pursuing you. Watch for getting triggered over the next month or so with some of the squares. If there is an order in place with Saturn in your 4th, square Uranus and Mars in the 7th, you do not want to be showing up at somebody's property. You don't want somebody showing up at your property, because Saturn could literally be police officers, and then there could be some legal entanglements. So really watch for that, and I wouldn't go venturing to go and meet her in a home space or vice versa. I would say you really want to watch for that. Hopefully that's helpful. Good luck. I know that that's challenging, but come back in mid-August and let me know what happens with those squares, because it's a lot about keeping the past in the past, you know? It can be difficult, but that's definitely something that you want to do when you have those squares. So that leads us to the end of our evening. Thank you guys for watching. Just a reminder, like I said, we're going to be back 7:00 p.m. Pacific time on Saturday the 9th. We're doing astrology. We're going to get back into the schedule of Saturday nights, so I shouldn't be traveling too much anymore. I'm going to be regular with that. I'm working on a video for you guys. It's going to come out tomorrow about Mars through the signs. If you haven't already seen my horoscopes, check it out. I did my horoscopes for all 12 signs for the month ahead. It's like 2-3 hours long. So if you want to know all the most significant transits for your rising sign or your sun sign, check that out. Tomorrow I'm going to be talking about Mars going into Taurus and what that looks like. If you want to learn tarot with me, check out my links below. I am going to be starting in about 2 weeks' time a live tarot course. That's going to be a series of courses that I teach on Saturday mornings on Pacific Standard Time. Several hours long, a lecture demonstration. I'm going to teach you guys how to read tarot intuitively. If you want to learn astrology with me, check out my links below. I've got my astrology program that is already up. And I've got a webinar that's coming out on the 10th that's all about the North Node Uranus conjunctions. You can find all of that on my website. If you want to book a reading with me, you can do that as well. I'm usually booked out 6 to 12 weeks at a time. I'm booking right now in August going into September. But do consider booking a reading with me. I offer a variation of different reading types, whether it's solar returns, election astrology, progressions, but all of my sessions are a combination of what I see intuitively working with the tarot and astrology. Do me a favor and give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. I appreciate it. Sharing is caring, and I will see all of you guys back here tomorrow and readings on Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You guys take care. The card that I got is the Knight of Coins, the Ace of Wands, the Page of Pentacles. We're working towards something. This is saying new beginnings when it comes to creative passion and sexual desire. The Seven of Pentacles reversed. King of Cups is also about mastering your emotions. The Fool is like, hey, I've never done this before, but here goes nothing. We're building towards something. The card that I get is the Lovers. The card that I get is the Knight of Coins.